Aloha, this is Gun Talk with Flying Hawaiian. We're here to talk about firearms. Not just that they're cool or fun to play with, but no, we're here to actually talk about the safety aspect of it, the laws around firearms, and all else, everything gun related of education. Okay? A little bit about myself. I have an associate's degree with SDI in firearm technology and also a certificate in handgun specialist. My goal here with these podcasts is to share my knowledge and to help educate. I will talk about the history of the firearms and the Second Amendment, and also firearm work, from gunsmithing to about gunsmithing to replacing parts and stuff like that. I'm also going to talk about the federal, state, and local laws in different states, but while I'm also tell you what they actually mean for law-abiding citizens. For lawful gun owners in each and every single state, will explain exactly what each of these gun bans laws that Senate is trying to introduce how it will affect you. Now, I will talk about how these apply for everything from purchasing to buying restrictions all the way to having the firearm in your home. So these are supposed to help brand new firearm owners, beginners, and stuff like that. For law-abiding citizens who already have firearms, maybe this might be a catching up or even reminder. But trigger warning, I'll also be doing episodes on school shootings, mass shootings, and covering from the data to the events of what actually happened that led up to those shootings, to help the average person have the better understanding. You know, I'm also going to be debunking all these anti-gun talks or anti-gun people, and with data. I'm not going to bring you anything that isn't supporting with the data. I also will be debunking the mainstream multimedia as well about firearms. There's a few out there I wanted to point out in a few episodes, so you guys are going to be able to see that. But starting with this episode, the very first episode of my podcast series of Gun Talk, I'll be going over the firearm safety rules. So with the firearm safety rules, it is one big, huge, important to know, because when you have firearms, when you're dealing with firearms, safety is number one. So let's go get right into it. Beginners, please listen up. And it's okay if you're not understanding. You can leave comments down below. The gun community will help you understand a little bit more if you're not getting what I'm meaning here. So the first firearm safety rule is treat every firearm like it's loaded. So what that means is, if someone hands you a firearm and they tell you it's unloaded, no, don't believe it. Check it for yourself. So I'll show you how to actually check a firearm. So now I'm going to show you how to check a firearm. I have my PSA dagger right here. So I know this firearm is unloaded. So, but you guys don't. What we're going to do is hit the magazine release button right here. So we're going to drop the magazine. As you see, there's no ammunition in the magazine. Now I'm going to check the slide, the barrel, and the breech. So what we're going to do is I'm going to rack it back. As you see, no round ejected. So I'm going to lock the slide back. I'm going to show you. No ammunition at all. So this is how we know this firearm is clear of any ammunition right here. So now the second firearm safety rule is never point your firearm at anything you're not intended to destroy. Okay, what that means is, do not point your firearm at your friend or your dog or animals, period. Unless you're actually intending to shoot. Don't. I highly recommend, don't. The only time you need to point your firearm at anything is either when you're target practicing, that means at a range, with the then, or defending yourself when a time is in need. Those are the only two times. Okay? It doesn't matter what kind of defense, that's the only time you do it, when you're defending yourself or others. That means from a criminal, a wild animal, or something like that, when there's actual a threat. In future episodes, I will explain the consequences if you don't do that. Okay? So, either you keep it pointed downrange if you're at a range, or you point it at the ground or in the air. Those are the safe directions. The third firearm safety rule is to keep your finger off the trigger. That is the biggest one a lot of people make in accidental shootings and others. So what that means is when you hold a firearm, do not put your finger anywhere in this area. And this is the trigger well. You have your trigger right here. Don't. There's actually spots on the frame, like right here, that actually is meant to put your finger. And this is how you keep your finger off the trigger when you're holding your firearm. That is called trigger discipline. Or hold it like this whole time. I'm not putting my finger in the trigger well because even though this is unloaded, you can clearly see that it's unloaded. I'm not, because it's still part of a rule. So, now the fourth firearm safety rule is know your target and what's behind it. Okay? What that means is when you point your firearm even in the range, know your target and then what's behind that target, because bullets just doesn't stop right there at that target. It continues going on. So that's one thing you need to know about. So let's say you're defending yourself out in public because there's a threat coming at you. You need to make sure there's no innocent people behind that person. Because no matter what, that bullet is going to travel. But just be aware of your surroundings, your target, and what's behind it. The fifth firearm safety rule. I think it's the biggest one everybody should know to keep in mind, besides rule number 3 is rule number 5. Is know how to safely operate your firearm and how all of its safeties work. So what that means is when you have your firearm, know how it operates, how the slide does, or in a rifle, how the bolt carrier work. So here I have my PSA dagger. I'm going to drop the slide down. Magazine or the slide catch is right here. So this does not have any manual safeties, but there are 2 safety applications to this firearm. The first one is the trigger. Right here is a latch for the trigger. So as you see, if I push down on the top part, it stops. It won't let me continue pushing until I actually push down this bottom part to release that safety device. Okay? This will help prevent the trigger from moving unless you intend it to move. Now, the second one is there's a stopper right around here. It's called a firing pin block. And what that does is block the firing pin from continue moving forward to hit the cartridge, the primer in the cartridge that's in the chamber. What that helps is if you don't intend to pull this trigger and that firing pin drops and moves forward, that block stops it from actually reaching the primer. So if this drops and firing pin release, it's not going to go off. But this is on a striker platform, striker fire platform. So I have here also my SARS B6. So now I'm going to show you the firearms clear. No ammunition there. I'm going to write the slide back. As you see, slide is empty. So this has a manual safety on here. So I'm going to show you right here. This is what we call a thumb safety. This thumb safety, you can operate when you see red, as you see right here, that means it's ready to fire. But if you pull it up, the safety's on. That means this hammer will not drop to hit the firing pin to fire the bullet. I'll demonstrate right here, as that is not moving forward at all. We drop it down. Now I'm going to move. As you see right there, the hammer dropped. That's how the safety works on there. Even if you have the hammer is flush with the firearm in its resting position, because this is a double action firearm. Even with the manual safety on, when you pull the trigger, that trigger is not going to move. And then the hammer is not going to move back. So that means the safety's on. Alright, firearm safety rule number 6 is always use the correct caliber for your firearm, especially factory ammunition. But what that means is don't use, let's say, a 45 ACP and a 9mm handgun, and vice versa. That one, and right. So if you have a 9mm, use a 9mm. Always know what your firearm is chambered in. Okay? So, with that rule, don't get your ammunitions mixed up. Know what your firearm is. Firearm safety rule number 7 is use appropriate eye and ear protection, especially indoors. When you're at the indoor range, use appropriate ears and eye protection, because you're in a closed area. That shot will echo around the whole entire place. So that means like earplugs and another earmuff set. That would be great air protection. Don't go into the shooting range indoor with your AirPods. They're not capable of it. Don't try it. Firearm safety rule number 8 is always keep your firearm unloaded until ready to use. Okay, what that means is do not keep one in the chamber unless you're ready to use a firearm. I know everybody's going to argue with it, saying that no, you need to keep one in the chamber. No. Unless you're ready to use it, do not keep one around in the chamber. There is devices out there for cars and in home that will help you load the firearm when you intend to use it for self-protection and stuff like that. Because especially this includes parents or people who has kids, you know, that children explore, including little ones, you know, they explore, they get into things. If you keep your firearm loaded on a nightstand and your kid gets to it, you're making that a dangerous situation. So keep it unloaded, keep it stored in a safe place until it's ready to use. So, firearm safety rule number 9 is learn all that you can about safe handling and shooting. That means take classes. Go research classes of introduction to firearms, CCW, CHPs, stuff like that, and it helps to know how to handle your firearm correctly when you need to handle it. Okay, especially beginners. Beginners take classes to know the firearm, because if you just think, oh, I know about firearms, I'm gonna buy one, I'm gonna handle it, and when time of needs, you don't know how to handle that firearm, you just cause yourself a bigger issue. So there are several classes out there. They're from USCCA to the NRA. Go research where you can go there to learn how to handle a firearm properly. Alright, firearm safety rule number 10, the last one, is do not make firearm safety a secret. Teach and help others. So what that means is, if you see someone mishandling a firearm, don't ignore it. Go and stop that person from mishandling that firearm and show them the correct way. You know, there is a lot of accidental shootings or even accidental self-harm from firearm negligently discharging. Is because someone probably didn't show them how to handle the firearm properly, or they didn't clear the firearm before handling it. So that teach others, or if you see it, stop them from before something bad happens. That's the biggest thing a lot of people can do. So firearm safety, it's very important. Don't hide it. Alright, we're getting to the end of my episode. Here in future episodes, we'll be doing some question and answers, some little Q&A. For all the people who want to put down a comment down below, ask your questions, give a little tip out to the beginners and stuff like that. Your voices will be heard. So, if you want a quicker response than here on YouTube or any other places I'm posting this podcast to, I'll put down the link of my Facebook and also Twitter for a lot quicker response. So, and a little announcement: people who are living here in Colorado that is following me, please, on March 11th, there's a rally going to be hosting on the west steps of the Capitol building here in Denver, Colorado. Please join us. We're going to be protesting against the gun bills that are out here in Colorado, especially SB 25-003. It is the banning of semi-automatic firearms with detachable magazines. So please come show your support. They're going to be, our host of that event is going to be the 2nd Syndicate, Spartan Defense, DCF Guns of Colorado, Chainsaw Cactus Pack, Colorado GOP, Phoenix Weaponry, and Teddy Collins. So please come join us. Support. There's going to be music. There's going to be some fun stuff going to do. You guys can actually carry your holster, but it needs to be empty. So do not show up with a firearm, or it's going to make us look really, really bad. So you can have an open, empty holster showing off like that, showing your support, but leave firearms either in the car or at home for this rally. And it's going to start at 9 o'clock in the morning on March 11th. So please come show us your support. But as always, thank you for listening. If you have any comments, questions, or concerns, please comment down below. Aloha.